Hello and welcome. This is Notibot ENG. Tonight, we bring you a recap of the latest developments in the ongoing tensions between Iran and the US. In a significant escalation, reports indicate that President Trump has rejected an Iranian proposal to ease tensions, including opening the Strait of Hormuz. The US blockade on Iran remains in place, with oil prices skyrocketing to nearly $119 a barrel. We'll also explore Putin's involvement and calls for humanitarian corridors through the strait. Let's dive into the latest news. A major development in the ongoing tensions between the US and Iran has emerged as President Trump delivers a significant message on the country's relations. US President Donald Trump has reportedly rejected Iran's latest peace proposal, according to Axios. As tensions between Iran and the West escalate, President Trump has issued a stark warning about the potential length of a proposed oil blockade. U.S. President Donald Trump has warned Iran that its economy will face severe consequences if it does not comply with Washington's demands for tight controls on its nuclear program. This warning comes as a U.S. naval blockade of the country continues to take its toll on Tehran's economy. According to reports, Trump met with oil executives at the White House to discuss extending the current blockade, which has been in place since 2018. The officials told Trump that he could extend the blockade for months if needed and minimize its impact on American consumers. The news of an extended blockade sent global crude prices soaring, with Brent jumping above $119 a barrel to its highest level since 2022. This increase is attributed to concerns about the potential disruption to oil supplies in the Strait of Hormuz, which has been blocked by U.S. naval vessels. The blockade has already had a significant impact on Iran's economy, with thousands of people stranded at sea for months. An Indonesian seafarer was among those affected, and his story highlights the human cost of the ongoing tensions between the U.S. and Iran. This development matters because it could have far-reaching consequences for global energy markets. The UN Development Program has warned that the war in Yemen could plunge over 30 million people into poverty in 160 countries. With oil prices on the rise, the impact on these countries' economies could be severe. As tensions between the US and Iran continue to escalate, it is clear that the world is holding its breath, waiting to see what the next move will be. Following a tense diplomatic standoff, US President Donald Trump has rejected an Iranian offer to ensure the free passage through the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump has rejected Iran's proposal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, a vital waterway that connects the Gulf to the open ocean. Tehran had suggested lifting the U.S. naval blockade in exchange for resuming nuclear talks. However, the president insisted that his primary goal remains preventing Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. According to Axios, Trump views the blockade as an effective tool, claiming it is somewhat more effective than the bombing. He believes that the current situation, where Iran's oil exports are severely limited, has left its infrastructure close to exploding. The president sees this as a strategic advantage, saying it will make things worse for Iran. U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, has reportedly developed plans for a short and powerful wave of aerial strikes if Iran does not yield. However, Trump has yet to authorize such action. Sources suggest that the U.S. is seeking to break the diplomatic stalemate with Iran without resorting to force. The situation highlights the ongoing tensions between the U.S. and Iran over nuclear concerns. The Strait of Hormuz blockade has been in place since 2019, following a series of attacks on oil tankers in the region. The move by Trump to reject Iran's proposal marks a significant escalation in the conflict. It remains to be seen how Iran will respond to this development and what consequences it may have for regional stability. As tensions escalate in the Middle East, a pressing humanitarian crisis is emerging in the Strait of Hormuz, where aid is desperately needed. The global humanitarian community is sounding the alarm over the devastating impact of the conflict in Iran on its people and the international aid efforts. The volatility of oil prices, driven by the U.S. and Israel's military actions against Iran, has created a perfect storm that is crippling the delivery of essential supplies to millions of people in need. The Strait of Hormuz, a critical shipping channel, has become a focal point of tension, with Iran blocking and reopening it at various times. This has resulted in skyrocketing transportation costs, making it increasingly difficult for aid organizations to deliver food, fuel, and medicine to those who require them most. The International Rescue Committee, IRC, and other humanitarian agencies have reported significant challenges in accessing vital supplies due to shipping disruptions. In one notable instance, the IRC was unable to access $130,000 worth of supplies stuck in Dubai that were needed by 20,000 people in Sudan. This highlights the dire consequences of the conflict on civilians, particularly in countries such as Nigeria and Ethiopia, where government oil rations have forced humanitarian organizations to limit generator use in their health clinics. The situation is becoming increasingly unsustainable for aid agencies, with many burning through budgets rapidly due to the escalating costs of fuel and transportation. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies has warned that the rise in oil prices is having a 100% impact on its operations and the lives of people affected by the conflict. In a highly anticipated phone conversation, Russian President Vladimir Putin discussed sensitive issues including Iran, leaving diplomats and analysts scrambling to understand Moscow's intentions. In a phone call that took place on Wednesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin discussed potential solutions with U.S. President Donald Trump regarding the ongoing conflict over Iran's nuclear program. According to Kremlin aide Yuri Kikin, Putin put forward several ideas for resolving the dispute. One of these proposals involves negotiations between Iran and world powers, potentially facilitated by Russia or the United States. The Kremlin aide stated that this could involve a new round of talks in Vienna, where an international agreement on Iran's nuclear capabilities was established last year. Additionally, Kikin mentioned that Putin suggested repeating a temporary ceasefire in Ukraine to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II next month. This would be a symbolic gesture aimed at reducing tensions and demonstrating a commitment to peaceful conflict resolution. These developments come as relations between Russia and the United States remain strained following recent conflicts in Ukraine and Syria. However, Trump's willingness to engage with Putin on key issues suggests that there may be some common ground for discussion. The implications of this phone call are significant, particularly given the escalating tensions surrounding Iran's nuclear program. A renewed focus on diplomatic efforts could potentially prevent further escalation, while a repeat of the temporary ceasefire in Ukraine would be seen as a gesture of goodwill by Russia. It remains to be seen how Trump will respond to Putin's proposals and whether any concrete agreements can be reached. Thank you for joining us today for this news recap. That's all for now. We'll be back with more updates as they become available. Don't miss out on the latest in-depth analysis, expert opinions, and breaking news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to stay informed. Our team will continue to bring you the most accurate and up-to-date information from around the world.